A new poll showing Trump keeping the support of most of the people who voted for him nearly 2 years ago. The Pew Research showing 59% of Trump voters staying enthusiastic about the president, with the president losing very little support among his voters since the election. I'm joined now by Alexandra Smith, the executive director of America Rising, and Ben Kissel. He's a radio talk show host and political commentator. Good to have you both here. Alexandra, this Pew poll is pretty interesting because it's not just like a one-time shot in the dark. Pew has taken several people, and then they poll them periodically. So we have a little bit more of a detail about what they like in the president, what they don't like, any types of concerns. So far, the president, maybe no surprise to you, keeping his supporters.
It isn't a surprise to me, and I'll give a personal anecdote by way of this. I come from Luzerne County, Pennsylvania. This is the county that put the president over the top in Pennsylvania. And my friends and family back there, when they talk about the president, some of them were two-time Obama voters who then voted for the president. When they talk about supporting President Trump and continuing to support him in the administration, they cite him doing things is what really is capturing them. Whether it's North Korea, they've told me about the trade agreements as something that they admire that he's doing, in contrast to other administrations.
Ben, you do hear that for the president, for all the noise that he puts out there, and he does it a lot himself. But people do seem to be getting the message, people who support him, that they're like, okay, well, look, he said he wanted to get the tax cuts done. He did that. He said he would do dereg. He said he would do judges, and they see all of these things, so they say, what's not to like?
Yeah, for better or for worse, he is doing what he promised to do on the campaign trail. I do want to focus on the number, the 18%. Obviously, 82% of his voters still support him. That 18%, though, is a bigger number than one might think, because let's not forget, he barely won Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. That was 77,000 votes, and he hasn't built his coalition whatsoever, so it is shrinking, and I don't think he can really afford to shrink it much more if he has any chances for 2020, because let's not forget Hillary also won the popular by 3 million votes. So that 18% is a very significant percent when you've cobbled together such a fragile coalition.
I think that the Republicans are aware that the midterms could be difficult, especially in those suburbs. So we know that.
Totally.
I want to ask you about Nancy Pelosi. According to the Washington Post, Alexandra, 27 House Democratic candidates are now saying they're not sure that they would actually vote for her as Speaker. She's become a lightning rod. I talked to a Democratic consultant today. He thinks that the Democrats overall lose about 1 to 2 points because of Nancy Pelosi. That might not be as much as needed to basically count them out.
Well, we at America Rising are guilty as charged for asking some of those people whether or not they're going to support Nancy Pelosi. And the reason why our trackers out in the field are asking that question is because it is that lightning rod issue. She has become the face for what people dislike about the Democratic Party and the Democratic leadership, and not just among Republicans, but among progressives as well. She's not as far to the left as some of them would like her to be. And so I think for Pelosi, look no further than the Ohio 12, where we had our the Democratic candidate Danny O'Connor. He said repeatedly in his campaign ads and in public statements that he wasn't going to support her. He goes to Washington for one day, and on the set of an MSNBC show, he says, oh, well, I'll support the eventual Democratic leader, who could be Nancy Pelosi. So his reversal in that, in such a close race, you have to think it made a little bit of a difference.
Maybe it did, but Ben, I do wonder if the Democrats, like the Republicans, they wanted something new. And do the Democrats, now that they're sort of in the wilderness, they won't really know who their leader is until the 2020 primary is completed. Does Nancy Pelosi hinder the Democrats right now?
Well, I think there's a reason that 51 Democrats running for Congress openly oppose her. We have a situation with Ocasio-Cortez here in New York that opposes her. Obviously, she's more of a representative of the left wing of the Democratic Party. But then you also have Connor Lamb over in Pennsylvania 18, who also opposed her, much more moderate, someone who's pro-union. So I think both wings of the Democratic Party are saying it's time for some new blood. So will it stick? I don't know. And quite frankly, Donald Trump is also a lightning rod. So who do you hate more? Another election like that.
Nobody has neutral feelings.
No, not anymore. Not allowed.
My last question, I have to make it a quick one, is I just noticed this today that the issue of gun control is really becoming almost a litmus test for both sides, with a lot of Democrats, Alex, basically saying that they are for more gun control, and that seems to be working for them in their elections. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's an issue that animates the Democratic base and it animates Democratic donors. I think that it's an issue that could potentially be a costly one for some of these Democrats running in more moderate parts of the country, more rural parts of the country, where this is an important issue to to a lot of the voters out there.
And your thoughts on that, Ben?
I think gun control has become much more mainstreamed, as we saw after Parkland in Florida passing a lot of legislation by any gun standards. So I think it's a winner for the Democratic Party, and I think they should keep at it, because sending assault rifles in the hand of an 18-year-old, I don't like the idea.
So it's interesting to, well, of course, there are rules and laws against that, but it's interesting as an issue, just pulling back and looking and watching all of these changes. That's why it's so fun to have you here to talk about it. We'll have you back. All right, Alex and Ben, thank you.